Hey students, it's Mr. Fleece here, and I'm going to show you how to create a graded or gradient watercolor wash using the wet on wet technique. Let's get in it. Students, I'm going to teach you how to make a warm wet on wet watercolor wash and a cool wet on wet watercolor wash. What we're going to need is we're going to need our watercolor paper taped to a board, or if you're at home and don't have a board, you can tape it to a table, or you can do it without the tape. The tape just helps as the paper wants to curl. You're going to need a jar of water. You're going to need your watercolor palette. You're going to need a paintbrush, and I'm using a flat watercolor brush, or you can use a round watercolor brush depending on what you have available to you. I'm going to take and show you the first step to wet on wet technique. The first thing I need to do is grab a little bit of the water, and I'm going to brush my paper with a little bit of just water first to wetten the paper to make it ready to apply color. Then I'm going to mix a nice warm tone by mixing a little bit of red with a little bit of yellow. Make sure to clean your brush before changing colors to avoid color contamination. I'm gonna grab a little yellow and mix in here so I have a nice warm tone. On my brush you can see it change the bristles quite nicely. Then I'm gonna take and brush on my color like so. To lighten the hue, I can add water and it will lighten the color as I work my way down. To darken your watercolor, you'll use less water by tapping on the towel, and you can pick up more pigment, put a little bit more red on my red orange, and brush it on the top, laying that into your wet watercolors. I'm using my reds and yellows only to create a warm tone wash. I'm gonna add just a slight bit more yellow to this. And you can allow your colors to mix naturally on the watercolor surface as well, on the paper surface. I'm gonna bring it down into my water. Using water, I can blend my colors. My goal is to try and eliminate the brush strokes by adding enough water. Notice how I'm allowing it to get a little lighter as I work my way down, and that's perfectly okay. It helps to tilt your board if you can, so I'm gonna prop my board up so that way I can add a little bit of water and allow the watercolor to work its way down. And now I have a nice warm tone watercolor wash. I'm gonna rinse my brush really good in the water, tap it on the towel to make sure I pull out all the pigment. And now I'm gonna brush my cool colors. Brush water on, the cool color side. And I'm going to mix a little bit of blue, and you can do different tones. I'm gonna mix a little bit of blue with a little bit of red to get a nice cool tone of purple. So I'm gonna want a little bit more blue in my purple than red. So grab some more of that blue pigment, mix it in. Now I've got kind of a nice bluish purple that I'm going to start stretching in my cool tone. Notice as I work my way across and it starts to lighten, I can pick up a little more pigment. And now I have a nice cool tone using purples. And students, I'm going to allow these two washes to dry. All right, students, and that's how you create your watercolor washes, and we're gonna let those dry before we add any additional applications to the watercolor. After you finish your watercolor washes, make sure you take a picture of those and upload it to Canvas so I can see your work. All right, take care.